Hi everyone, Azriel Knight here. I know I promised everyone an after show where I'm going to address your comments and tell you about the future of the channel and how my workflow changed over a fortnight of film, but today I definitely have to take advantage of the weather. If you watched the end of the series, A Fortnight of Film, then you know that the city of Calgary was blanketed in snow, completely covered, and that's all gone now. Completely melted, except in the darkest of crevasses. Again, Alberta's weather has pulled a complete 180 on us. It is November 2nd, and the current temperature is 22 Celsius. You combine the fact that this is very unusual weather for November, especially in Canada, plus the fact that daylight savings time just kicked in, so the sun is setting at 5 o'clock, and I'll take my sunlight when I can get it. I figured since a lot of you saw the progression of the temperature going down in a fortnight, that it would be just as interesting to see the weather completely pull a two-face and just absolutely look like the middle of August. I will be getting to A Fortnight of Film's after show. Trust me, just give me a little time. I want to make sure I get it right. Today I'm going to be heading to Nose Hill Park, and Nose Hill Park is just this massive nature reserve smack dab in the middle of Calgary. You have to see it on a map to really get a sense of scale. You walk for a few minutes and you can no longer see the city. Granted, you can still hear the city a little bit. It is the easiest way to get away from the hustle and bustle without leaving the city limits, that is for sure. I was there actually a couple of days ago with my wife, shooting some Ektachrome 100, and I'm going to throw some photos up that I took. I find them beautiful and simple, and it really showcases the amazing color of Ektachrome. Now, during A Fortnight of Film, I did shoot Ektachrome, but I shot expired Ektachrome 100 plus, and that's not really the same thing. This is the fresh stuff. This is the Primo medium format slide film. I am falling in love so quickly, and the only reason why I'm not head over heels is the price and the developing process, both of which are a bit frustrating. Over the last year, I have fallen in love with color and especially slide film. Few people that I talked to in 2019 would have probably heard me say, I hate color and I especially hate slide film. Well, times change and people definitely change too. And I have grown to appreciate both just color film in itself, that's C41, ECN2 though not as much, and slide film, especially slide film. When you pull the film out of the tank and you can just see the results right away, and you can see that rich color, especially in medium format, just like hit you right in the face. There is nothing quite like it. It is absolutely amazing. People say that getting exposure is hard, and that's true. You can go from midtones to shadows to black very quickly. However, when you get it right, there is just so much detail in the highlights and the midtones, and when the shadows drop off nice, everything is so rich and amazing. But I really do love Ektachrome, and I have definitely developed a huge appreciation for color and when to shoot color over the last year. It's not about loving something or hating something. It's about the right tool for the right job. You don't hear carpenters saying, oh, I hate wrenches, or, oh, I hate this type of... You might hear people bicker about certain types of screwdrivers like flatheads versus Phillips or whatever, but you get what I mean? Yeah, anyway, moving on. As with all my medium format shooting, I choose the Pentax 6.7. And I've got three lenses for it right now, a 55 3.5, the 105 2.4, and the 200 f4. Now, when I went out a couple of days ago, I had with me the 105 2.4, and I just shot that. So today I'm going to be using the 200mm f4. Now, I know some of you have expressed interest in me shooting other medium format cameras or other cameras in general. And don't worry, that's definitely going to happen. I'll throw up some pictures now of the bins of cameras that I have to go through to review. I'm either featuring a film or I'm featuring a camera. That's sort of where I'm going with that. And you'll learn more about that in the after show. But you'll definitely see me shoot more cameras soon. That being said, nothing to do now, but get this camera loaded. Alright guys, I've arrived in Nose Hill Park. I am making my way up the hill. And it is quite windy right now. I was expecting a little more of this. Blue skies, you know, pretty colors. But what I'm actually getting is this gloomy gray. However, there is a saying in photography that there's no such thing as bad weather. So that's what I'm riding on. My goal now is to get up to a high point and take a look and see what I can see. Well, that's where I started, down in that parking lot. And here's where I'm at now. High up enough to see the Rocky Mountains in the distance. Pretty amazing. There is still more hill to climb though. I felt like there are several ways to get into Nose Hill, all around it, because it's such a big area. And I feel like the other location that I stopped at, which you can actually see from here now, that's funny, gives you more interesting landscape. So I feel like I zigged when I should have zagged. Also, when I got to the top of the hill, I just found more hill. So I'm gonna have to decide if I should count my losses and head back down, or continue up and see what's over that hill there. I haven't reached the top yet. However, that little clump of trees there, combined with the clouds, makes for a really interesting shot. And with my 200mm lens, I should be able to get some interesting compression. I'm gonna get a little higher first, and then find a composition. You might be asking, how do you figure out what to shoot here? Well, first off, minimalism is key. So, looking for something just by itself. Like, I was gonna go for this bunch of trees, but now I just see a single tree there. And if I get up there, I should be able to get that interesting cloud formation in the background. Other thing I have to watch out for here is wildlife. I'm sure there's people that know way more about wildlife than me that can tell me in the comments what these are. One of them's probably dog, but the other definitely doesn't look like dog. It doesn't help that I decided to go to the gym today and start a new workout program. And Monday is squat day. So no one can ever tell me that I skip leg day, because I've doubled up on it. Oh man. there's the view down below. I have to digitally zoom to get all the way in. It's as far as my lens will go now, even digitally. Wow. Well, it could definitely be worth it. Check out those mountains in the background. I'm getting 1/60 with the tree at f4 and 1/3200th of a second at f4 for the mountains. There's just way too much of a difference. Maybe what I can do is use the tree to frame the mountains, but I don't know. Maybe I should just go for it. This is interesting. I don't know what it is, to be completely honest with you. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments, and you know, let's be respectful and leave the jokes aside on this one. I'm sure it's something religious or cultural, and we want to be able to respect that. Okay, please tell me this is as high as I can go. Wow. Man. Hard to believe this is all in the city, that's for sure. There's also some really gloomy looking clouds over there. Been up here for a few minutes now. And I didn't mention this before, but I've also been shooting in stacks. That's one of the great things about not being limited to one roll of film per day, is I could just bring whatever I want. But in stacks is not what this episode is about. What this episode is about is Ektachrome. But I'll show you the in stacks at the end of the episode as well. I did get a shot of the skyline because I love skyline shots. I love how they change over time. But yeah, now I'm just debating on where I should go. My instincts say towards the mountains because, well, I mean, it's all downhill from here no matter what. But if I head towards the mountains, then I can loop around and back down to my truck. And I might be able to get something in the foreground that will add interest to the mountains in the background. And that's what I'm really aiming for. Just shooting the mountains. Wow. Just shooting the mountains on their own. It's neat, but I need something in the foreground too. And let that be a lesson to you for anybody who's shooting sunsets or funky clouds or just beautiful skies in general. Try and get something in the foreground. It adds depth, it adds interest, and yeah, those two things. It adds depth and interest. Of course, I would crouch down for my shot and practically sit on a thorn bush. So I spent the last minute or so pulling those out of my jeans and then my fingers. Well, I got 2 shots left and I've started to make my way back down. I took 3 exposures of a shot of the pathway with the mountains in the background. I thought it was like Interesting. I thought it was like a pathway to the mountains. That's what it looked like to me. And the exposure is so wildly different because you can see so far away, even though most of Nose Hill is overcast. And I just wanted to be sure that at least one would come close to the way I see it. Well, I would say I'm halfway back to the truck now, and I have one shot left. I just took a shot of that little tree up there. It's definitely gotten a lot more overcast since I got here. And for a split second, I think I even felt rain. Now, November rain is more than more than just a Guns N' Roses song. It is also very rare in Canada, especially Calgary. I was just reading a Reddit post earlier today, and somebody said, "Hey, I just moved to Calgary a couple of months ago, and people told me that the winters are crazy, so what exactly is going on?" And, I'm not sure where you're from. Obviously, you're from a lot of places because a lot of you are watching. But here, the weather swings wildly from one day to the next, 1 week to the next. It's very unique. At the very least, you do get a break from the snow every now and then. I think I'm going to use my last shot and use the same tree from a different angle. When I originally took the shot, there was almost nothing in front of it. Now I've got all this here, and I've got that little bushel of whatever that is there. There's a bit more color variation. Plus I'm working with a lot more even lighting right now. Yeah, this is where my last shot's going to take place. All right, folks, I finished developing. I had the bath like already warming up when I left, which I don't know if it's the safest thing in the world, but that way I could develop it as soon as I get home. I've done that before. I've just left the bath and gone off and done what I needed to do and came back, and it's been fine. Here we go. Let's see how they look. Definitely a mix, I can tell right away, of exposed properly and underexposed. Huh. Oh, that is neat. Interesting. So they sort of tend to be on the underexposed side. But it might work out for a couple of the shots. There's definitely a couple here where it's just going to be garbage. Next thing I got to do is put it through some photo flow and then wait for it to dry. You don't have to wait though. Here are today's highlights and my contact sheet. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed those. As far as my expectations go, in some ways, I exceeded my expectations, and in some ways, I didn't meet my expectations. And let me explain that in a bit more detail. In the sense of how I didn't meet my expectations, it comes down to just in terms of exposure as a technical thing, completely without emotion. I did not get the exposures that I wanted to. Most of them came out dark. Part of that is because of the weather, and part of that is due to my lack of experience with Ektachrome and slide film in general. While I know that there isn't a lot of latitude in terms of the brightest points to the darkest points, my brain could not have prepared me for just how dramatic those results were going to be. Now, where I exceeded my expectations is purely how I feel about the film. I think the results are absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't exchange them for the way I envision them in my head. Now, if you've watched a fortnight of film, then you know in the past, I've gotten really hung up on making sure that the film looks exactly the way it is in my head. And many of you have said, that's not realistic, first off. And second, if you like an image, but it doesn't happen to be what you expected, that's okay. You can be okay with the results if they're not what you expected, but you're like, oh, that's even better. Totally okay. I don't know. There's this imposter syndrome creeping up when you see an image and you say, well, that's not what I expected, so I can't use that photo. It's total garbage thinking. And if you've thought that before, just get it out of your head. I'm learning to. The thing is that I still showed up. I still used my camera. I still chose the film. I still chose the location. And what? It comes down to a couple of stops and I'm not supposed to be happy with the results? Horsepucky. Just be happy with the results. That is where my brain's at now, is like, if I get an unexpected result, but I get that fluttering in my heart and I'm like, wow, that is so cool, I'll take it. That is my image. That is still my photograph. In fact, in the future, now that I've learned a little bit more about how slide film works, and especially Ektachrome, I will use that to my advantage. I will know that given the opportunity, whether I have to overexpose the image or underexpose the image, I would much rather underexpose the image when it comes to slide film. But yeah, those are my thoughts. And you might agree with me, you might disagree with me. That's okay. I mean, it's better if you agree with me. But if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. So yeah, first Days of Night episode since the marathon. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I will have an after show. It's going to be a two-parter because there's a lot of ground to cover. And in the first part, I plan to address some comments in the first 9 episodes, as well as tell you about how my workflow has changed in the darkroom. And it's changed since I started working on that first episode. So it's probably a good thing that I'm giving it a little bit more time to percolate and get my thoughts in order and make sure that I do it right. And the second part will be the final 8 episodes and responding to those comments, as well as tell you what the future of this channel is. Now, as you probably guessed it, part of the future of this channel is to continue to release Days of Night episodes, but I'll get more into detail on that in the after shows. And until next time, stay classic.